Hey all, welcome to my channel. Not much to say or do. More so, I figured I might as well live stream it because like today, I might as well just go on a broader topics today. Hopefully you like it. I'm leaving it as live. I actually am testing it out where I finally got OBS to actually display the chat box, so I can't see I can see the chat. So if someone actually starts posting stuff, that'd be great, and I do see it. But usually, more often than not, like my other videos recorded, I'll try to keep it short, unless there's a reason why I need to, record it and keep it live permanently. Um, like I said, today is going to be a range of topics. Today, first topic, of course, is for me. What's his name? Doc Rivers being fired by the Philadelphia 76ers kind of sucks. I mean, honestly, I didn't think he was going to get. After losing to the Celtics today, this series, it was going to happen. You knew after Game 7 he was going to be fired. I think everyone knew it. I think even he knew it, quite honestly. The fact is, like, everyone brought up the fact is, like, hey, look, your record of the seventh game is 0-9 at the time, and now it's 0-10. And sadly enough, the Sixers were up 3-1. They should have. I'm sorry, 3-2. Sorry, they were up 3-2. They were up 3-2. They should have closed out Game 6, and they didn't. And that kind of sucks a little bit. And it also feels to the point where, like, they should have won, Game 7. And it seems like the players definitely gave up towards the end of the fourth quarter in Game 7. They were that. Hence the reason why they were like blown out. But one of the things is though I could say this though is Doc Rivers was brought on to essentially bring the 76ers at least to the conference finals, but more so to the finals. One of the things is because of the fact is like that never happened for the past 2 years, always getting eliminated in the semi-conference finals. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's sad to see that this is happening. I really wish that he could have another year to prove himself, but I don't think that's going to happen. Sorry, just need to drink. My getting a little parched there. Um, so that is sad to say, quite honestly. Another big thing, of course, is what's going on as of late. First, yesterday you had Jerry Connolly, if that's right, Jerry Connolly, yeah, Jerry Connolly, uh, you know, Virginia District Congressman. His district office was had a perpetrator with a bat wielding perpetrator, steel aluminum bat, basically aluminum bat, not steel, and basically went in and started injuring people, like started running amok, creating a mess, damaging property, and specifically assaulting people with it too. And same thing with the fact of Biden's national security advisor Jerry Sullivan. His home had a home intruder, broke into the house. Sullivan countered him. And it's kind of weird that so lax the security there for that matter. I think Secret Service, of course, is like looking over it, basically figuring out what's going on. But it's weird to the fact that it's like all of these perpetrators, and let's not forget about Pelosi, a year ago or 2 years ago, with Pelosi and her house, being broken into, where a deranged man was trying to injure her and him and her husband as well. Uh, this could also be stemmed back, honestly, to one person. I mean, in the past 5 years, we've never seen this much in nature in the past 5 years than prior to his administration. The man that's kind of instigating this and instigated also what happened on January 6th. I'm not saying the guy's name directly because, first off, last time I did a live and I said this something like this of this nature regarding his name, I was sort of given a warning. So I'm avoiding that this time around. But we can, it could be, I don't want to say him being totally responsible, but it could be derived from it. Meaning, one of the things is like, even though he hasn't condoned it, but he hasn't condemned it either. Um, and that's one of the things where it's gonna come back to haunt him for that. Um, and then let's also bring up the fact that, as well as, it's funny. I'm a New Yorker, and I want to say more of a moderate to conservative Democrat, not a liberal Democrat, but still moderate to conservative, more so moderate. It's funny, I admit, yeah, with the migrants coming in, seeking asylum south of the border, um, always going after like Texas and parts of California and such, more so Texas and everyone else, like the South. It's like, why would you like restrict them? Why would you stop them from coming in? Basically, like they're looking to better themselves. But it's funny to the point where I think we as a nation, we probably like, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that. But when it happens to them, it's like, oh, whoa, 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 you, new, new, new. Like the hypocrisy kicks in at that point. It's a double standard to the point where, like, when these migrants were brought into New York, into New York City specifically, and they were put into like specific schools, but separated from the children. All of a sudden, New Yorkers like what uproar. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. And I'm like, whoa, the hypocrisy. Where do you expect them to go? To be in Texas? Come on. Let's not leave it to Texas or any of those southern states. No. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of I kind of like how what DeSantis did basically. Well, like he took a lot of the migrants, or those that are seeking asylum, and moved them off to paid off their traveling fees to other parts of the country that were like, oh no, you should let them in, and then seeing what they say basically. Uh, Honestly, I think it's not I don't want to say great idea, but it's more of a case of like I think yeah, it makes sense to like you want to even them out because like you don't want parts of like outer borders of the country to be fully all about illegal immigrations or it's like asylum seekers basically or migrants. Um, Spread them around the country and quite honestly let them help the country grow and also at the same time you know what some parts of the countries do need some workers. I mean, quite honestly, like in the service industry, there is a shortage because why some of the servers and such don't want to go work. But then when these migrant workers are willing to work and they're like, okay, come on, we'll do you. And then the people that were like service workers then, who don't want to work, are like, whoa, 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 they're stealing our jobs because they don't want to work. So honestly, I'm all for the migrant workers to come in, and if they want to take the jobs that no one wants to do, and like if they're like there's a shortage, let them join at that point. Quite honestly, I'm all for it. Quite honestly. Um, Sorry, something just came out of nowhere. A window popped up out of nowhere, and I was like kind of caught off guard there for that second. Sorry. Um, so I'm all for it, and I'm wondering. I would love to see what would happen with AOC, where all the migrant workers. Someone should do that basically, like put all the migrants into her district and see what let's see what her constituents do, and then for that matter, put them all around her where she's located right now, where she's living at. For all those that are like against, put them where they live at, basically, and see what happens. Just like with the gun laws. For those that are like, oh, you should have guns, you should have guns, you should have guns. You know what? Have people sell guns right in front of their houses, and let's see what they do. They're like, whoa, 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 you shouldn't be selling guns to like these wackadoos. Well, you're the one that's for it. You don't want the restrictions, so sell it in front of their places. Let's see what they do. Um, because if they're like, well, no, you can't sell here, I was like, well, the freedom of the Second Amendment says otherwise, and selling it, well, you said like whatever it is, like they should be able to sell it to whomever basically at this point, so it can be sold off anywhere. So why not there? Or near their homes, not in front. I mean, even in front of the homes, but near their homes, and let's see what they do about that. Um, Maybe then they'll put in tighter gun controls. Quite honestly, same thing with with the migrants and like such was like people like against it, or like like, oh no, you should let them in, let them in. It's like, you know what, put them in the place. The thing is, this is me. I don't. There's no one true solution. There's no one true solution. Um, Everyone can complain and say whatever it is, but the thing is, no one can come up with a solution. And the thing is, there is no proper solution. Quite honestly, right now, with the gun aspect, yeah, there is a solution to that, but it's not gonna. No one's gonna do that. Basically, um, the fear is, of course, I think one of the apocalypse, or two, if there's someone that invades the country, people need a gun, or two, home invaders. Honestly, if you can remove the guns and make them illegal, well, semi-automatics to automatic machines are guns illegal to be sold to public citizens, then it might help reduce certain things. Now, handguns is a different story. I don't know how you restrict that. You don't want to take away the Second Amendment entirely. I mean, sometimes people need a gun because honestly, like, you're like, okay, I don't need a gun. I don't need a gun. All right, fine. You walk down the street with a bunch of thugs who don't have guns, but like big fellas walk down the street. Let's see what happens. Would you be willing to walk? What are you gonna do? You're gonna break out your pepper spray? Um, so, like I said, it's one of those things. I'm not for or against. It's just hard to determine the right answer. Quite honestly, there is no right solution. For the population problem, maybe the only solution. Well, there is a part solution, which is not opening the borders, but opening the global borders, opening up the global economy. But the problem is we've been so centered on each other, or more centered on ourselves, that we're not that we're not focusing on the bigger good, which is basically opening up the planet and like basically like essentially exploring other alternatives out there, like other planets. We are looking for other planets that could sustain life. But the problem is like, what's that going to do? We're taking too long to find it. Other aspects is like there's other minerals out there in space that we can mine for. There is a lack of resources here, but there's more minerals out there. We're not focusing on space as much. Why? I don't understand. Space is something that we should be focusing on. Actually, I sent it on to, I think, ChatGPT or Bard, one of those two, asking like, oh, what's the solution to lack of resources? And it actually suggests space. So, I mean, honestly, that's a little surprising. Why don't we do space? Why don't we explore space? I mean, like, we spend so much money on everything else. Why don't we spend so much money in there? And everyone's like, oh, there's no need. There's like, what's the purpose of it? Well, the purpose of it is one, resources. Two, other mineral resources we can gather and garner from it. Two, uh, solving for overpopulation, which Musk is trying to do basically by colonizing Mars. But the other aspect is three, basically, is like, we're all based out of living atoms, and one of the things is like some of the mutations that we encountered probably have some form of radioactive therapy in a ways that could help eradicate some of this stuff. I don't know, like something in space. Like there are specific wavelengths that are out there that does help people out. But that's we have to wait and see for that one. Another factor I got to talk about is the Google Pixel. They come up with the Pixel Fold finally. The only thing is like, are they a little too late? Because when Google tries to jump into the game, they're always a little late to it. They're not always a game changer, but they know how to iterate fast enough to make it better. Similarly with Microsoft, let's not forget, like with Microsoft, when the browser wars, Netscape came out, Microsoft didn't have it, but they knew how to iterate on the IE Explorer, then they made it much more better, slightly better, to the point where like IE became much more predominant than Netscape. But of course, IE, Microsoft became complacent, and then as a result, comes in Chrome, as well as Mozilla, and now Brave, and all these others now at this point. And then Microsoft to go in and reinvent itself with Edge. But the thing is, they're trying to do what accessing Bing's ChatGPT. You can only access it through its app, some Bing apps, or specifically through Edge. You can't access it through any browsers, which is a surprise. and they're trying to do what they did back then with IE basically. Similarly with Office as well. And now let's not forget Office. There are two things with Office: Word, but PowerPoint and Excel. Excel is that's the biggest game changer. Excel is the biggest game changer. Let's not forget that. And so Google and everyone else is trying to come up with some of their alternative ways of like those spreadsheets as well as presentation slide decks and whatnot to compete with them. Can anyone compete with Excel? Well, time will only tell. Time will only tell, to be quite honest. But what the fact is like the Google Pixel. I did I went off tangent there, but like with the coming back with the Pixel Fold and the Pixel 7 Pro or 7a, sorry, 7a, better than the 6a, of course. I don't know all the features. I've got to look at the features. I would love to see some of the features. If it doesn't have NFC, not many people are using it nowadays, but nowadays I'm using it a little bit more with my Pixel 5, so I do prefer the NFC, quite honestly. But the Pixel Fold, similar to what the Pixel Fold, similar to the Samsung, as well as the Samsung Fold, as well as the Oppo and Huawei, I think, and Xiaomi. Let's see what happens, because I think Apple's trying to take a page book from them and see what happens with Google. If Google's Pixel Fold does really well, then they'll come up with something and probably price it out for like $2,500 to $3,000 or something like that. The Microsoft Duo 2, it seems like they're not releasing any new releases or products of it, so I don't know what's going to happen there, quite honestly. I would not be surprised if Microsoft coming out with their own sort of clamshell like the Motorola Razr and the Samsung clamshell. I think people are still waiting on those two phones as well to see how that market picks up, basically. Because quite honestly, I kind of like the clamshell aspect, but the thing is like it is also fragile. That's the biggest thing. It's so fragile that you drop it, it's done. And getting a case for it is going to be kind of hard to get for something that folds off like that. So that's why I'm a little concerned about that part. I was like, do you really want to buy a fold or a clamshell Android phone? But let's not say I'm more Android more than anything else. I will say this: I don't go Samsung. More so because I was Samsung in the past, and like always the battery died off. And also the other aspect is some of the new features that would come out of Pixel was not on the Samsung, and it would take quite a while. Similarly with the Motorola's, as well as at the time OnePlus One or OnePlus, and the Xiaomi's their own branded version. I'd rather just go with the one that my Pixel comes out with, Google comes out with. Honestly, if Google worked really closely with Samsung to the point of like let them come up with the device, they would make the software, I think it would become much more popular. Samsung would become more popular. The problem is, though, it's a Korean company. China doesn't like it, as well as Japan. They don't go for Korean companies. Same thing with Korea. They don't go for Japanese companies. Similarly with China, they don't go with Japanese companies because of what happened in World War II and such. So, that's why. So that's how you see Apple have a little bit more predominance in both Japan and Korea. Because I was quite honestly surprised when when I went to Japan, I wasn't seeing any Nexus phones at that time, and that was because it was made by LG. And I was like, why aren't there any Nexus phones out here? Or OnePlus One phones. I think I also had a OnePlus One phone at the time, and I was kind of surprised. I'm like, whoa, there's not enough OnePlus Ones. What's going on? Only to real, and I was seeing a lot more, definitely a lot of Apple phones, iPhones, but more so a lot of Sony phones. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I realized, oh, Japan, Korea, blah, etc. Basically, I've never been to Korea, so I don't know, but I'm assuming that's what it is. Where Korea is going to be either Samsung, LG, or Apple. Yeah, I think I've been talking for almost 20 minutes now, just ranting on anything basically at this point. If you like my rants or hate my rants but still want to listen to my rants, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Welcome to leave any comments. I do respond to all my comments. I do read them and I do respond to them. Uh, I was hoping to do it more of a tech rant more than anything else, but I didn't really have anything to say today, quite honestly. I wish I did, but there's not much in the tech world that's going on right now, quite honestly. You know what? Let me just check out to see what it is here. I mean, the only thing is like the AI, but who knows? That's something different in and of itself. Basically, we gotta wait to see how that pans out with the AI world. Um, I mean, everyone's like saying, "Oh, there's got to be AI regulation, just like FDA regulation." I mean, honestly, how do you regulate models or algorithms specifically? There's those that are released to the public, and then those that are going to be used internally. So how do you, like, how do you moderate that? I don't know. That's kind of a little tricky thing to say, basically. Though I will say this, it would be kind of an interesting concept of letting AI. I actually posed. I'll actually create a video for this, but I actually posed a dilemma to Chat GPT. I should ask. I go into GPT for it, but anyways, I actually posed a question to Chat GPT of an issue basically where two individuals, kind of the Solomon thing basically, where like two women basically having both claiming the same child, who's the mother of the child. Um, Kind of posed that question to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, but it was more property more than anything else. A property and a property line, and like what happens with the property line. Who should take, who has the right of way, uh, and ChatGPT went the legality route. Basically, it was a case where I posed a question where two homeowners, neighbors, land, uh, part of the land parcel that an individual had a fence on actually happens to be on the parcel of land that the other neighbor B owns. But for it's been over 20 years, and then neighbor B noticed that looking at the zones, that neighbor A basically is encroaching on neighbor B's property by putting his fence, and he's been asking him to take the fence down. Neighbor A's, no, I've had this fence for 20 years, and some other stuff plants along the ways as well. So why would I take it down for 20 years? You've had 20 years to say something, you didn't. Who had the right of way? And basically thinking that there's also the squatters' rights type of thing aspect of things more than anything else. ChatGPT basically still chose neighbor B's side, uh, to the point where to the point where like neighbor A had no choice but to take down the fence and everything, and who's responsible for that and had to pay for all that, and also pay for like re not regarnishing but resodding that part of the parcel of land basically. So that was kind of interesting to see. So I'm like kind of wondering, like, if we let AI make decisions for us based on hard cold facts, which is what we're looking for, based on hard cold facts, what would happen? No undue influence and such. How would that work? And I was wondering, it's like not to be decided by jury of peers, but to be decided by a jury of algorithms. How would that work out? But be still presented by human lawyers presenting their cases. To the point where like you can't present the human emotion aspect of things. Uh, you're presenting the just facts and facts alone, basically at that point. How does that work out? And in any case, I should do that, set up some stuff, and then see how that works out in that situation. Can AI be using both BART and GPT-4? And when I'm saying GPT-4 that's being incorporated into Bing, not ChatGPT, because it's up to 2021 right now, unless you pay for it. But yeah, BART and GPT-4, finding out what both of them say, presenting information to them based on a case, and seeing what their decisions would be. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered. Today's basically unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.